Hey looters, it's Flutes here. Today I would like to talk about wizards and feats. Spellcasters have a unique problem where they often don't know what to do with their feats because they'd just rather invest in their stats to up their DC, or the feats just aren't very tempting or effective. But we recently got an influx of all kinds of new feats that are wonderful for spellcasters. So let's talk about feats today on Flutes Loot. So as I'm getting started, I want to remind everyone that flutesloot.com is the website that Opal and I have built, and we're now making these YouTube videos that are based on our articles. So feel free to open up the article and follow along on flutesloot.com. The link to the article, if you want to follow along with this video, is down in the description below. So in my article, I focus on 5 different types of feats that a wizard might be interested in. The first being augmenting your spell casting or expanding it, working on your mobility and escape mechanisms, improving your durability and your ability to heal yourself and others, enhance your ability to work as a team with your allies, and 5th, just a few niche feats that wizards could find useful. But today, I'm going to focus in this video just on some of the feats that I think are the best to consider. Again, it doesn't mean there aren't others that are useful, and I'm sure there will be comments, and there always are, of people who maybe see another feat as being more valuable than how I presented it or didn't present it, and that's always valid as well. So let me know in the comment section if you think any feats I missed deserve to be on this list, or if you disagree with any of my choices. I'm always open to having my mind changed, and it happens all the time. First of all, feats kind of come in 2 categories, where one is like a full feat, and sometimes there's one that's like a half feat. And a full feat usually doesn't come with like a stat boost to make it a little bit better. A full feat usually is just standing on its own without having a stat boost to go with it, because usually an ability score improvement gives you 2 points towards a stat. So if you put 1 point towards a stat, it's kind of like you got half ASI and half feat. So they call them half feats. I didn't come up with that, but that's how I've heard it presented, and it made sense to me. Tasha's Cauldron of Everything came with a lot of these half feats, which is really cool to see because they come with an ability that's cool, useful, but without the stat boost that comes with it, it's like, not really sure. But if you can add +1 to your intelligence while gaining an extra spell, that's awesome. If you think about the Magic Initiative feat, which for a long time has been one of the best feats in the game, and it can help wizards expand what spells they know and everything, you don't get a stat boost with it, you just get some cantrips and a first level spell. But with a few of these feats, you'll get a stat boost as well. The first feat I want to discuss at length is Fey Touched. Not to be confused with Fey Teleportation for elves only, which is from Xanathar's as a racial feat. That one's fine too, and it's in my article. But Fey Touched is for anyone, you don't have to be an elf. Fey Touched will allow you to boost your intelligence by 1 point, as well as giving you a free Misty Step and a spell from either the Divination or the Enchantment School of Magic of 1st level. This will open you up to have the Bless spell, for example, to bless your allies with a d4 once in a while if you're willing to concentrate on it. Especially nice at low levels. If you're doing Variant Human or the Variant Background, whatever it's called in Tasha's, where you can get a feat at level 1, this is a great one. Misty Step is already one of the best spells in the game for having just an escape mechanism up your sleeve, or being able to get through jail bars or get past a front line of people to get to where you need to be without risking your flesh and blood with just moving through things. If you want to know what kind of divination and enchantment spells are available, you can go to D&D Beyond and do a filter for your spells and hit School of Magic, Enchantment, and Divination and level 1, and you can just do a filter to just very quickly see what's on the menu. Next feat, if you're augmenting your spell casting, is for Tieflings, and it's Flames of Phlegethos. This boosts your intelligence stat for one thing, and it gives you the ability to wreathe yourself in flames when you cast a fire spell. And Flames of Phlegethos does a better job of augmenting your spell casting to do more damage than the old Elemental Adept feat does. It puts Elemental Adept to shame. So if you're a Tiefling, I highly recommend this spell if you're going to focus at all on dealing fire damage with your spells. Metamagic Adept is the next one that gives you a little bit of spiciness from the Sorcerer class by learning some Metamagic. The Metamagic options that are best to learn are A, affordable with only 2 sorcery points that come with this feat and are actually useful. Subtle Spell is one of them, because Subtle Spell allows you to not be counterspelled as you cast a spell. As long as there's not a material component, you can omit the verbal and somatic component, which is talking and moving, and just do it with your mind, and no one will know that you're casting a spell. Counterspell doesn't work if they can't perceive you casting a spell. So, use it when you are casting a spell that is crucial and you don't want it to be countered. I won't go into every single Metamagic option because I actually have a whole article about using Metamagic for the Sorcerer. I recommend checking that one out as well. But the article I have for this wizard feat concept also goes into each one and which ones might be the most useful to pick with this feat. It's an excellent feat. It's a shame it doesn't come with a +1 stat boost, but I think it's good enough even without it. Next feat to consider is Telekinetic. I think this is just an amazing feat for most spellcasters to choose. You can boost your stat, and you get a really cool Mage Hand ability that is pretty much being able to force push people around, and it utilizes your bonus action as a wizard, which you don't often do. You can reposition allies, you can push foes into your Cloud Kill spell or whatever area of effect you want to keep them inside, and it's especially useful if them leaving the area and then you pushing them back in immediately triggers the effect again on their turn, because then you're just doing all kinds of damage to them. You can push people off of bridges with your mind. It's just got so many possibilities that I highly recommend picking it up. Another one to consider is Telepathic. So we had Telekinetic, now Telepathic. This is an interesting one because the image for it in Tasha's makes it clear that a bard could inspire someone with bardic inspiration telepathically without having to speak out loud or use their instrument. That's really interesting to me. So if you have a spell that only requires verbal components, you might be able to cast it on people without them noticing, kind of like a subtle spell Metamagic. This is a little bit like iffy with raw rules as written, but I would ask my DM to say, can I cast a spell on someone if it requires them to hear me, but I do it in their mind, and the spell only requires verbal components? Like, could I cast Suggestion telepathically? So yeah, the Suggestion spell also has a material component, so you'd have to supply that or use an Arcane Focus component pouch. But when you speak the words of the Suggestion spell, when you say, hey, here's what I want you to go do, my temporary minion, could you do that telepathically? I think that'd be a really cool way to play this off. And I think it's worth asking your DM if they would allow that, and if they would, have fun with it. Moving into more like escape feats, the mobile feat is always good. You can boost your movement speed by 10, and you can use Booming Blade or some other cantrip at close range to attack someone, and then they won't be able to attack you as an opportunity attack, as you don't have to disengage. You just move away, regardless of whether you hit them or not. Usually I'd use like Shocking Grasp and take away their reaction, or I would just disengage and run away if I didn't want to risk it. But this way, it's not a risk, and you have the extra 10 movement speed that you could actually get a distance away from them that is maybe 10 feet more than they can move, so they have to dash to reach you again, and then they don't get to attack you until their next turn, by which time you will have moved away again, so you become like a kiting expert, as you just kite enemies as they keep chasing after you with their axes but can't reach you. The Resilient feat is really good to pick as a wizard. You'll boost your Constitution with this one, which could increase your hit point maximum if it was an odd number before, and you can plan that out. And you gain Constitution saving throw proficiency, which means when you are concentrating on spells, you'll have a much better chance of maintaining concentration when your proficiency bonus can be added in. Infernal Constitution is another great feat for wizards if you are playing a Tiefling. You can boost your Constitution for one thing. It's always useful to have more hit points and to have a better concentration saving throw. And you'll just gain a few free resistances to damage. If you're worried about damage and you don't love mage armor, you could invest in a few feats and take lightly armored and moderately armored. Then you just need like a dexterity score of like 14 to get a +2 to your medium armor, and then you can use a shield. That could get your armor class upwards of like 18 without much problem. Sure, it takes 2 feats to get there unless you want to multi-class or gain armor in some other way, armor proficiency, but if there's nothing else that interests you from the feats, you might as well just armor up and become more durable. Those feats will also allow you to boost your stats that are relevant to them, so check it out. The Lucky feat is always useful. The Alert feat might be useful if you're getting surprised a lot. If you want to heal people, you'll want to take Artificer Initiate so that you can gain Cure Wounds from the Artificer spell list. But you might also just take the Healer feat and be able to heal people with your Healer's Kit, where you could usually not actually restore hit points with it normally. If you want more hit points, you could also just take the Tough feat, and every level you gain, you get another 2 hit points. Moving on to like some teamwork feats, I really love Bountiful Luck. It just makes me want to play a Halfling every time I look at it. You can take your ability to reroll ones and stack it with your party. Every time they roll a 1 and they're nearby, you allow them to reroll it with your reaction. As long as you're not needing that reaction to do counter spells or the shield spell or anything like that, it's a great way to buff your allies and make it so they don't roll 1s, and they will love you for it. But you do need to make sure that you're actually going to be 30 feet away from them, because as a wizard, you like to keep your distance often. And if your fighter is running in 60 feet away, your 30-foot range on Bountiful Luck is not going to help them. Now, if you're an Abjurer, a Blade Singer, or a War Mage, you might want to take the Mage Slayer feat. It's not just for rogues and fighters that are getting up in the face of wizards to attack them and everything. You'll have advantage on saving throws while you're up next to other spellcasters, which they won't really see coming. They'll expect like a long-distance wizard duel, but you'll get up in their face. When they cast a spell, you'll be able to attack them, which as a Blade Singer, you'll be very effective at. As an Abjurer, you'll be really good at saving against their spells, or take like half damage if they're trying to damage you with a spell. And War Mages can alter their armor class and their saving throws to be boosted upward, so that the other spellcaster is just really having a hard time getting away from them. Like if I'm playing a wizard, I do not want an Abjurer or a War Mage getting up in my face and being able to have advantage on all the saving throws that I'm tossing at them. If they have the Warcaster feat too, and they could like opportunity attack me with Booming Blade or some other spell, I'm going to panic and I'm going to have to use Misty Step to get away. And then I'll only have a cantrip to use on my turn. And then they'll probably just move up to catch me anyway. So you can really give enemy spellcasters a tough time if you're one of these subclasses of wizard that is meant to kind of like wizard duel. I mentioned Warcaster. If you're one of those subclasses that doesn't mind getting in the thick of battle, Warcaster might be great for improving your action economy so that you can cast spells as a reaction, potentially getting 2 leveled spells per round. Not bad. And your saving throws for concentration will be done with advantage if it's taking damage that is the reason you're doing it. Lastly, Mounted Combatant is an excellent way to make a wizard more mobile and able to keep their mount alive. In my wizard multi-classing article and video, I don't know which is coming out first, I talk about how the necromancer using Vampiric Touch is kind of hard to pull off because you're not very mobile or durable. But with a mount to get you around, you can go in Vampiric Touch, maybe even kill someone with it so that you regain hit points very much between Vampiric Touch and Grim Harvest, and then your mount just carries you away without you having to worry about it, and you're just weaving in and out of combat at the right moments to get these killing blows and heal yourself. Now, you don't have to take Mounted Combatant to do that as a feat, but it is a great way to make it more reliable so that you and your mount can work as one. So that's been a really quick overview of some of my mindset that goes into picking feats in those like different 5 categories that I mentioned for my article about like what kind of feats do you want to choose based on what need you're trying to fill. Again, let me know in the comment section, cast message down there, and I'd love to have a discussion with you about feats. That's just a really fun part of the game. Even though it's optional to have feats in your game, it almost seems like an expectation of players that like feats are always going to be available. I've yet to play in a game that the DM said you can't have feats. They're a lot of fun. So wizards shouldn't feel left out in picking ones that change up their options and increase their effectiveness. So again, this has been Flutes with FlutesLoot.com. Check out our website. Like and subscribe. We love to see that. And we'll see you in the next video. Ta-ta for now. See ya.